What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Today's Best Served Podcast 342. We're talking getting out of the weeds for hospitality workers. We got Raeghn and Molly of CHAAD, and of course, we'll be hearing from Elle Jarvis from In the Weeds as well. Once again, this is kind of the kickoff week of the In the Weeds Menu Meeting Fall 2021 campaign, and we're talking everywhere, as we always do. We'll be on video casts with organizations that work within the weeds, with sponsors who are supporting this campaign, with chefs who are a part of bringing heritage to the forefront of the conversation. And we'll get into that a little bit more. You can find us on Clubhouse, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere that content is produced to support hospitality workers and the industry as a whole is where you can find us, as always. So make sure and tune in on all the channels. No further ado, I want to bring in Elle Jarvis, founder of In the Weeds. Elle, good to see you.
Hi, Jensen. Nice to see you.
We're going to be talking a lot, and I'm excited about this. And I feel like between us, I'm going to repeat myself again and again and again. Amazing work that you all do. The support that we've had together. Now you're working with us on the 86 challenge and our nonprofit partner there, writing $86 checks to writers. And when we say writers, it's a dishwasher, a line cook, a bartender, a server in English and Spanish. And so it means a lot to be able to bring these stories to the forefront. And that's your entire mission. So we're very simpatico when it comes to that. Before we get into kind of what's happening with the campaign and bring in the crew from CHAAD, give us a little high level. In the Weeds, what's In the Weeds all about? Let people know.
Sure. So In the Weeds is a national 501c3 public charity. Our complete mission is to champion the physical, financial, and mental health of the hospitality professional. And we truly believe that a hospitality professional cannot have a sustainable work-life balance unless all those buckets are full.
Truth.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a wild ride, and we're still under the barrel. I'm at the beach, so there'll be a lot of surfing little clips here. But we're still under the barrel in the hospitality industry. You know, restaurants are open. People are starting to trickle back into work, but it's definitely a long road to recovery. So what we do In the Weeds is we find solutions to the problems that everybody talks about. So access to healthcare. We've partnered with many state marketplaces to get hospitality professionals low cost, no cost care that is subsidized and quantified based on income versus hours. We created designed this white label crowdfunding platform so folks can sort of get away from the GoFundMe model and have a little bit more protections through a nonprofit processing those crowdfunding campaigns for them. And as a all volunteer, like negatively funded startup nonprofit, of course, we had a million different ideas. But we've really dug in and found other partners in other markets that we can attach our 501c3 to as a fiscal sponsor for other nonprofit or mutual aid or activism work groups that are doing the work that don't necessarily have the resources to incorporate on their own or want to incorporate on their own, but benefit from being able to receive grants and sponsorships to fund their work through our 501c3 status.
You can tell you have said that pitch so many times. Flies right out. All right. And Raeghn and Molly with us. I want to bring Raeghn in first. Kind of introduce Raeghn. How did Raeghn, good to see you. How did this relationship start? Right. We have you're out in the Boston area, in Chicago. How did the connection start? I'm interested first.
How did the connection start? I think it was through Instagram.
Yeah, I think so.
I think, just Elle liked the work that we were putting out, connected with us through Instagram, and just fell in love with each other. A lot of respect for the work that we're each doing in each other's city. A lot of like getting on a Zoom call and just rambling about the industry and how it could be better and future building and dreaming together.
That sounds about right. And then the action on the backside of that, right? It starts with conversation. We have to have real conversations, not these facade conversations about the industry, how shiny everything is, or even some of the complaining. Sometimes we have to find a way to take that initiative into action. And your organizations have absolutely done that. And so we're grateful to be able to create a platform of content creation in this campaign. So excited about that. Raeghn, for you, how did CHAAD, how did the work start?
CHAAD got started by myself and a coworker because we were looking for a way to organize the restaurant we were working in. This was happening in the spring of 2020 or early summer of 2020. So a lot of restaurants were organizing around the protests that were happening and organizing around demanding better work environments. So my coworker and I started collecting a list of restaurants in Chicago and what they were doing, what they were saying that they would do in terms of Black Lives Matter and in terms of better work quality, and what some restaurants weren't doing. And we decided to share that information with folks, and it kind of blew up in our faces, and people were really excited about it. And it became this bigger thing that we weren't even trying to do, because the hospitality community was looking for accountability, was looking for resources, was looking for places to share stories and to share the experiences that we all whisper about. So that's kind of how CHAAD became, because people wanted it to be.
Yeah, I appreciate you say it kind of blew up in your face. We've definitely felt that as well. I know Elle has, where all of a sudden now accountability is love is one of the kind of the taglines. I see it on your IG profile pic, all that. And it made sense because you're kind of trying to create accountability for the hospitality industry as a whole. But now you're also creating accountability for yourself, because you've set an expectation that you're going to be out here as a resource and supporting. So I appreciate that you've taken that mantle. Absolutely. All right, let's bring in Molly as well, part of the CHAAD team. Molly, good to see you as well. And Molly, I'm going to put the difficult task on you of what does CHAAD stand for?
So CHAAD stands for the Chicago Hospitality Accountability and Advocacy Database.
Well done. That rolled right off the tongue.
Oh yeah. We usually just go by the CHAAD Project for short.
I would stick with the CHAAD Project. I saw it and I'm like, I'm not going to attempt to rattle that off. So I appreciate that. For you, how did you get involved with CHAAD? What does CHAAD really mean to you?
So I got involved early last summer of 2020. I was one of those people who was dealing with a lot of grief because of the restaurant I was coming from and a lot of the controversy that old bosses were facing, and just a lot of grief and anger, coinciding with, like Raeghn said, all of the anger around the civil rights unrest last summer. So I got connected to the CHAAD Project, I think in June of 2020, just by other restaurant workers who shared similar sentiments and were looking for this outlet and a way to organize our thoughts and feelings and maybe do something about them, because we were watching our industry burn around us and on multiple fronts. And I think when we talk about love, like most folks in this industry do love it. We just have to find better ways to be in relationship with it so it's healthier.
Yeah, it's sometimes you end up with like Stockholm syndrome in this industry, like it, and so many of us get in so young. I was 17, and so you don't know any better, and there's this strange dynamic of abuse inflicted on you and self-infliction, and then the oppressed becomes the oppressor, and all these dynamics at play that are very human, yet we focus so much on, leave your shit at the door, smile, it's part of uniform, you're only as good as the next plate up, and you're breaking down that facade. So I really appreciate that. Two kind of directions I want to go. Elle, I'm very interested, this concept of getting out of the weeds, the concept of collaboration over competition, halo organizations, the way that you're navigating, bringing in, great thinkers, great leaders, action takers within the industry. Hi to the cat there. We love when pets make guest appearances on the show. So I'm interested in that. And then I want to find out exactly, I'm in the industry in Chicago, anywhere, how can I get involved? How can I get the support that I need? But Elle, if you can kind of break down kind of why we're at the table here together.
Sure. So I think it all comes down to what we know in this industry at large is relationships, and what in the weeds is what I do as the founder of In the Weeds is really foster those relationships to make sure that who we are partnering with and who we're sort of like hitching our wagons to are speaking the same language, and we're just building this really safe space with one another to give each other the agency to like heal from whatever trauma we're obviously like healing from the past 18 months or 20 years in the industry.
Right.
But being able to have these open dialogues and open conversations of how we can continue to offer resources to the younger generation, the older generation, our peers. I was thinking about it this morning. I've been saying pretty regularly with our Getting Out of the Weeds workshops that they're everything I wish I knew when I was 22. And I was brushing my teeth this morning and I was like, screw that. I wish I knew this when I was 14 and I couldn't get a Saturday off from the scoop shop to go watch the fireworks with my parents, right? And so the workshops have just grown organically. And I think that was one of the first projects that In the Weeds and the CHAAD project really dove into together. And we did 7 weeks. It's really challenging to break through all the noise right now on the internet to get the eyeballs and get people to show up. But the second round, we broke into, so the Getting Out of the Weeds workshops are created by workers, for workers. The entire workshop program is written by a member of the CHAAD project who is a licensed therapist. Emily is amazing. And they're led by representatives of CHAAD. And we're actually able to pay them for their 2 hours of their time to present.
Great.
Which is fantastic. So they're tips and tools for managing, stress and trauma in the restaurant industry. So they're in 3 different modules. We do 3 different sessions a month, but they're the same session. So if you're in several different time zones or you miss the first one, there'll be 2 more opportunities to be able to tune into that first session. We do record them, so you get access to them for a month after. It is behind a password on our website. So you have access to go and revisit them for a month after. And we broke them into 3 modules. So they build on each other. The first module is stress, trauma, and resistance, which dives into like what are our trauma or stress responses: fight, flight, fawn, freeze, different scenarios, so you can identify what type of response you're experiencing, how to ground yourself, and then how to resist those traumatic experiences you have, whether with your coworkers, your managers, or your guests throughout the course of service. The second module, boundaries, microaggressions, and substances, which sort of all layer right into each other. How to create boundaries with yourself, your coworkers, your guests, how to manage microaggressions on the restaurant floor or behind the line, again, with your coworkers or with your guests, which I think is very important when you're in service, is understanding and realizing how to communicate with your coworkers, because all of your livelihoods are interdependent on one another, while managing expectations of the guests and being like, no, actually, you can't talk to me like that. Or no, please don't actually touch my body. But like giving the restaurant worker the agency to be able to know how to manage that in substances. And the last module, we cover culture, like how to change the culture in your restaurant, how to maintain your identity outside of the restaurant, and future building, which is a term that we use between In the Weeds and CHAAD all the time that I now realize I say in my daily life on a constant basis, which has been a really like fuzzy and remarkable way to like stop talking about what we know is broken and come up with actual like solutions to make it more sustainable and safer for in the future, or now, not even in the future, like starting right now.
Yeah, the future is the next service. Like it's now.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's still into the future. So I appreciate that. Raeghn, I'm somebody who's looking to take on this. Am I a restaurant that then is paying for my staff to be a part of it? Am I an individual that's jumping in on this? Give me an idea of the actual guest experience in kind of these courses.
So we have a few different options. You can definitely purchase a workshop as an individual. It's pretty affordable. But then if you are a restaurant and you're looking to have your staff take these workshops, there are options where you can pay for, I think, up to 20 individuals to take the workshops and have unlimited access to the videos for a month. And then there are also options for brands to co-sponsor their favorite restaurants and purchase an option for that staff to come and take the workshops. So we're just really eager for folks to take it, and whatever avenue folks want to go about it, whether that's as an individual or as a business, we're ready to collab. We're ready to share the information.
I'm a line cook. I make $13 an hour and I get kicked in the head all day long. I love what you're saying. I have no idea how to bring that to fruition. I don't have any money. I'm 3 months behind on all of my bills. Like, that's a real experience for people.
It's a reality. Yeah.
Get me there. I like what you're saying. I think you have cool posts on social media. I don't know how to get to taking care of myself, investing in myself. I don't have the money. Give me an idea of how I might navigate that reality.
I would say to that line cook, first off, is to shoot us a message. We're open to anyone taking these workshops, regardless of their financial situation. There are real tools. Like, even as a facilitator of the workshops, when I go over them, I'm like, damn, like, how did I not know this information? How did nobody tell me this? How am I learning these things right now while I'm facilitating this? They're life-changing. I think one of the most beautiful things that the workshops do is they really teach you your own worth as a worker. We are valuable. We have skills that are worth investing and protecting. And I want every worker to feel that way. So if there's someone out there that wants the information but feels like they can't access it because of whatever their situation is, I would tell them to reach out and we will get them access.
And we can support that with Best Served. Here's what you do. You submit an article to the 868686 challenge. In the Weeds writes an $86 check to you for telling your story about the best meal you ever had, cooking for Obama, or any other story that you have to tell. And cooks and service industry people have the best stories to tell. You put 250 words on paper, so to speak. We will publish it and go ahead and take that money, invest in yourself, and go take one of these courses. That's how these three organizations here can support you as an individual and the worth and work that you do. So really appreciate that. Molly, I want to have you jump in here. And how else can I interact? I love the courses. I think this is interesting. Your content game is strong. It's very interactive. And so I want to be more involved. Where can I follow you? How do I share in the message of what CHAAD is up to?
So we do have a Patreon. On it, you'll find posters that we've made that would be great for a workplace. We also have short and long form articles that we post relating to different topics across hospitality, whether it's abolitionism in hospitality or how to stay safe as a sex worker, which we consider sex work very parallel to hospitality. There's a lot of crossover within that. And it's also a great way to support us. We have multiple different levels. There's like a $1 level if you're just a worker who wants to be able to consume what we're creating, all the way up to ownership, or if you're an executive in a company where it's a little bit more to support us. But beyond that, if you are local in Chicago, we do fundraising events, I would say quarterly, that are usually pretty fun. We just had one on Labor Day that was supporting workers and workers' rights in collaboration with a bunch of independent creatives and makers and vendors who are also hospitality workers.
You're saying Labor Day is not just to throw a party at the end of the summer, that there's actually meaning and value in why we celebrate that day for workers and laborers?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a party, don't get me wrong, but we also...
we're hospitality people, so we can do both. We can have a mission and party for sure. I definitely appreciate that. Elle, Halo organization. Can you break that down? That's something that CHAAD is, and the work that you all are doing together. I know there's a lot of people in cities and townships across the country that are like trying to start some grassroots something. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They just know something has to change. How can more people kind of get onto the path of the support that In the Weeds is creating for organizations like CHAAD?
Sure. I think it all starts with a conversation. Reach out, shoot a DM on Instagram, send an email. We have a bunch of different options. We have the white label crowdfunding platform that all of our Halo orgs have access to fundraise on their own on the internet. That all gets sort of like funneled into the In the Weeds account and reallocated. We have, I think, 5 Halo orgs.
Yeah.
So CHAAD was number 1, even though they weren't official. CHAAD actually had a different fiscal sponsor when we first started working together. And as soon as I was 2 weeks back, so I was like, I'm going to Chicago. And they were looking for a new fiscal sponsor. And they're like, we were going to ask if we could get on your calendar next week. I'm like, no, it's done. Cheers. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so we have Chad McCoy's Lip Service, which gives scholarships to BIPOC women to learn a second language to bridge the language barrier in hospitality, which I didn't even think about, like mind blown. The 86 challenge. And then Flew the Coop, we've been working with for about a year. Lots more information on that soon. And this past summer, we fiscally sponsored Be Wild Econ's summer tour, which was really remarkable. They wanted a 4-city tour. We got the whole thing sponsored. So everything that they raised through ticket sales, they were able to pay talent for food and labor and then redistribute everything to mutual aid. Like we were writing $2,000 checks to Detroit Black Land Farmers Trust, House of Tulip, Southern Solidarity, Chicago Bill Support, and like really digging into true mutual aid through that event series. And then these cuties made me cry when they had their last event on Labor Day. They decided that they wanted to redistribute half of what they raised at their event to the mutual aid fund that we did for cottage food makers and alt-economists and independent restaurants in New Orleans that were trying to reopen and rebuy their perishable goods after Hurricane Ida. So that's the true sense of collaboration over competition, right? There is no book to this. We cannot YouTube what we're trying to do. We are definitely writing it together. But if there is a group out there that are looking for the support of a 501c3 fiscal sponsor, reach out. We'll have a couple conversations and see if it's a good fit and see how we can help. And we have the resources to sort of meet organizations where they are. We had an amazing strategic planning session with CHAAD a couple months ago and put together the mission, the vision, the goals, the blueprint, the benchmarks. And it was really inspiring to watch their group particularly interact with each other to identify what CHAAD actually is, because I think that's what's really hard working in like mental health space or restorative justice space in the restaurant industry right now. There are so many organizations, which is amazing, but trying to identify like what lanes people are staying in so we can funnel those resources to one another where everything's very strong. So that's our Halo org program.
Yeah, I appreciate what you actually said at the end there, maybe even the most, because you mentioned how we didn't even realize that we should have known this when we were 14 years old. And so we're learning so much new information. There's also an interesting thing. We get so siloed and stuck within the 4 walls of the restaurant. Sometimes when you start doing the kind of work that we all are doing, you also get kind of siloed in tunnel vision and don't realize how many other individuals, entities, organizations are out there doing similar work or complementary work. And you're just grinding and hustling and it feels normal and natural because that's just what we do. Yet there are so many opportunities for CHAAD to funnel funds to Ida that never would have happened if there wasn't this eyes wide open mentality and this collaborative community support mentality. So I really appreciate that we're breaking down a lot of those facades, a lot of those silos through this. So again, Elle, broken record, great work on that. And your ability, I keep telling Elle this, Raeghn and Molly, that superpower is good people connecting good people. And that is absolutely Elle's superpower, is that for sure. And putting people in situations to do what they do.
I mean, I see myself more
it's
as
been done. It's already been it's already done. It's on your cape. We've already got them printed. Let's go.
I see myself more of a pollinator, and the work that we're doing is not performative, right? It's not to like rise as this, voice for everyone. Is to give everybody a voice. So I look at it
true
more
superpower.
as, like,
it's not a vanity power. I appreciate that. Raeghn, Molly, want to come to you. Some last words on what's happening next within your lane, within CHAAD, or what's happening for you that you're excited about, or challenges that you face. Molly, for you, what's on your radar right now? Give us an idea of what's happening next.
For the CHAAD project, I've been slowly working on a series of workshops that would be focused on changing the culture long form within restaurants. That would include like a survey. So if an independent restaurant takes an initial workshop, gets kind of a basis for why all of these changes are happening in the service industry right now, some of the history behind why all these toxic structures exist and why they need to be changed, we can then survey their staff and see what spots they really need to work on. Since our background, our roots are in surveys and data, and I personally have a background in sociology and like qualitative data, for me, that would be a next step that I'm looking forward to, especially because we've talked to a number of restaurant owners and managers here, and a lot of them just seem to be lost because they're not trained to like deal with any of this, so they're walking in blind. They don't have the language, they don't have the background in history, they don't have any like theoretical concept to work with. They're just like trying to make positive changes, like doing away with tipping, but not being able to explain to their staff why it's actually good. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Appreciate that. All right, Molly, we're going to get you out of here, get you back to work. The sociology background, now that makes a lot more sense with your focus. So I appreciate hearing that. We need more of that comprehensive 360-degree view thinking within the industry, and we need your perspective desperately. So thank you, Molly. We'll let you go. Take care.
Bye, Molly. Talk to you soon.
All right, Raeghn, same for you. What's on your radar right now? What are you focused on? What are you hyped up about? Give us an idea, kind of last thoughts.
I've been working with Emily recently for our last workshop, the future building culture and identity. And we're really trying to hone in on there's a lot of conversations in the industry about like what's not working, what's toxic, what's harmful, but we're really trying to dive into maybe more of why we lean into these cultures. Okay, we understand that tipping is bad, but why do sometimes we like tipping? What are the benefits that we get for tipping? Why is the restaurant such a not welcoming, but why does it tolerate more abusive, toxic behaviors? Like what are we getting out of the bad things that that the hospitality brings out in us? So really just trying to dive into the symptoms there, not just that oh, this is bad, but more so why we engage in this kind of behavior, why we engage in this kind of culture. And it's been really fun and eye-opening, even understanding our own comfort levels, even understanding our own biases in terms of tipping, in terms of tip pooling, in terms of schedules and competition. So I've been really enjoying that journey. I'm learning as much as everybody else is. So I'm just excited to keep diving in and going deeper.
I can appreciate what you're talking about, because there's a little bit of the systemic culture, the systemic models that we've created around, let's say, tipping or the brigade hierarchy, things like that we need to break through from a practical standpoint. There's also the human experience. You get a good tip, there's a dopamine hit. You're fired up. You feel good about yourself, right? On the other side of the equation, I love tipping 25 or 30% because selfishly it makes me feel like I'm a good person. Mm-hmm. And so there is some of that you're culturally having to break down, and then for the individual having to break down. So huge challenge there. But again, a good 360-degree view of the human experience and the business experience as well. So really appreciate that. Raeghn, we got a lot more work to do. We got a lot more to talk about. For now, we'll let you and the kitty cat get out of here. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You
Bye,
too.
Raeghn.
All right, Elle, last thoughts for you. Great crew, again, putting together great people and creating the space, allowing them to do what they do. Appreciate that. Getting out of the weeds, last thoughts on that. Can we get out of the weeds? Should we get out of the weeds? How the hell do we get out of the weeds, Elle?
I think we start with our workshops, honestly. Okay. Just start with our workshops. And to mirror Raeghn's sentiment, if there are people out there that are listening to this and they're like, damn, I want to take that, I don't have the $15, just send us a note and we'll get you in. That's like the name of the game. is to have as many people go through this workshop series. So it's sort of like what we just experienced with herd immunity and vaccines, right?
Right.
The more hospitality professionals that go through these workshops, the easier it's going to be to see the change shift and see the culture shift within restaurant walls. Yeah. So if you can't afford it, reach out. No shame. We'll get you in. If you are a restaurant owner that just doesn't have the space to figure this out on your own, you can sponsor your entire staff, up to 20 people, for the entire series for $750, which is
nothing.
like $13 a person or something. It's nothing. And it's a 100% tax deductible write-off through In the Weeds nonprofit. The same with brands. Brands can sponsor key accounts. There's no ickiness with Tide House laws because it is coming through a nonprofit and they're getting a service basically. So we really we built all these different options, but really we didn't want any economic barrier to entry for anyone. So we have our next round right now. September is just wrapping up. October. Okay. We'll, launch the series thereafter, but if there are enough people interested, we can keep the recordings open so folks can do it on their own for as long as possible.
And what if I have 4, 6, 8 restaurants? Could I even purchase our own and have one at a custom time for us, depending?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So what we would do in that situation is similar to what Molly said, is sort of give the entire staff a survey of, collect all the data where their sort of pain points are, or their blind spots are. Yep. We can go through our traditional package, which again is very affordable. I think it was like $1,500 for a restaurant group to go through the entire training. And if they wanted something customized that really dug into what that group actually needs, we have the ability to build it.
Love everything that you're saying. All right, Al, let's get you out of here for today. Lots more for everybody to come from El Jarvis. You and I are going to be sick of seeing each other in the most amazing way possible at the end of these 4 weeks.
You're not even going to need me soon. You're going to be able to spiel off all the In the Weeds.
I'm absorbing all of it, and I'm going to be an absolute loudspeaker for the mission and the vision of In the Weeds. So thanks, Elle. We'll let you get out of here. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, Jensen.
All right, everybody, that is it for this episode. Once again, this was Best Served Podcast 342, Getting Out of the Weeds for Hospitality Workers, with Raeghn and Molly from CHAAD, based out in Chicago. Of course, El Jarvis from In the Weeds as well. Once again, this is a part of our series In the Weeds menu meeting fall 2021, and there's hundreds of pieces of content coming out over a 4-week span. So please tune into all of it wherever you consume content, however you consume it. If it's video, if it's audio, if it's Clubhouse, if it's articles, if it's memes, we are going to be there to communicate with you. That is it. I appreciate you all. I hope all of you find your way out of the weeds, because it is so important for us in the hospitality industry for that self-hospitality. And the time is now. Cheers.